is separating these two, but that's what we love about chess, David. Age is just a number.
Exactly, and Harikrishna, he might be one of the oldest players in this tournament, but he is very experienced and still many good years ahead for him. Meanwhile, the game has started and I'm personally very happy. Ivanka, it's one of my favourite openings.
I know.
The C3 Sicilian, the Alpine variation of the Sicilian, and it's one you rarely see at top level these days, right?
It was rare, and I was going to ask you who launched the first surprise, because you know, we did hear Ramesh, the coach of Praggnanandhaa, say, hey, there's going to be a few surprises in store for Harikrishna, but then Harikrishna opened up with your childhood favourites, and I also know that you still use it as a regular.
I still do, mostly in blitz chess these days. I very rarely play this in classical chess. This opening, which does have a reputation maybe of not being the most critical way of fighting against the Sicilian defence. White occupies the centre with pawns. Actually, as we see here, catch up to the game, White does have two very strong pawns in the centre, but the reason it's not so popular these days is because Black is easily able to undermine White's centre. Also, a lot of forcing variations in this opening. It's been worked out very deeply in certain variations, and it surprises me that Harikrishna has spent a bit of time there, because Black had challenged the centre, White didn't have too many moves. In the end, White's bishop coming out, and now after this trade of pawns in the centre, which is very common, I'm expecting Harikrishna to take back himself. Black has some options there. So Praggnanandhaa, I would say he was maybe slightly surprised, but working with someone like Ramesh, working with other Indian players, Praggnanandhaa, he's had many great kind of sparring partners. He for sure has studied this before. The C3 Sicilian is rare at the top level, but he's a younger player, Prag, and at the younger levels, this opening is still very, very common.
Yeah.
And that Black defends and solidifies his knight in the centre of the board with his bishop.
Does he try to do something now, a little bit creative?
As far as I know, as far as I remember, this this situation you mentioned, Ivanka, yeah, you can trade off. He does that, and now black has passed pawns on both sides of the board. Black has pawns on this flank. The H pawn is a passed pawn, and also the C pawn. Black has pawns on both sides. It's going to be hard to stop them both.
Yeah, and also the white rook got no squares. I mean, okay, so he moves up to the 8th row. Okay, so nice row for the rook to explore. You can go to the left, you can go to the right.
Yeah, black has to keep everything guarded. You can do that with your bishop. You can do that with your king and knights. You can protect all your pawns. Okay, he steps back with the bishop. That bishop is just going to park itself maybe one square further, the b6 square, just to guard pawns. Yeah, suddenly, I mean, I advocated the queen trade as well. I thought that was maybe the most natural, the safest move, but possibly the white king was weaker than the black king just a few moves ago. And with that logic, maybe keeping the queens on would have, at least for a few moves, would have maximized the winning chances. Suddenly, white's rook does have threats of going to the corner and trying to gobble up black's h pawn. Suddenly, some hint to counterplay for Harikrishna, and also he's an endgame pro.
Yeah.
Whenever I play him, I try to avoid the endgame if I can.
But one thing that your observation about Praggnanandhaa was all about like how he likes to keep control. And there you can see with his move, he actually centralized his bishop so that the bishop can kind of control the critical squares and at the same time get ready to defend either pawn. I'm thinking about Alice and Harry on the A and H line.
Yeah, that's a really nice bishop in the middle of the board now for black, guarding everything, guarding all the squares the white rook wants to use. And yeah, just as I mentioned endgames and Harikrishna, I said I tried to avoid them at all costs, but then I realized I did play a 236 move game against Harikrishna. So the one endgame, I've had a couple of endgames against him. I had one the year before that as well.
That's a record one.
That's almost a record one, yeah. The year before that, I think I played 90-something moves against him. So, yeah, that's how much I love endgames. That's how much he loves endgames.
And, okay, well, the players have actually repeated the position a few times.
Okay.
Do you think we'll see a 3-time repetition?
Surely not.
Because the clock is ticking for Praggnanandhaa. It's 15 seconds. It's going down, almost 10.
He's up on material, though. He's got an extra pawn. Can he keep it?
Yeah.
Black having this knight and 3 pawns against the black.
Now
against the white
4
rook.
seconds, 3 seconds. Okay, they've repeated the position 3 times.
Okay.
It's a draw.
Oh, anti-climax after such an exciting game, but hard-fought game there by both players.
Both of them shaking their head. That was such an intense game between the two Indians. It ends with